Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spry Life. I'm Doug, along with Graham, and we are here in Graham's natural habitat. This is your gym.
It's my gym. Yep. It's where all the magic happens. Some good fun, a lot of sweat, a lot of grunting, a lot of loud music. Yeah.
Excellent. And this is all, part of the effort to stay in shape and lead a good life and do it for as long as you possibly can, which is the idea of being spry throughout your life. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but we are kind of in the midst of fall, and it's cold here in D.C. today.
It is cold, yeah. 34 degrees when I woke up?
Yeah,
that's cold.
Yeah.
That's cold.
So people are kind of, at this point, kind of adjusting. If they work out outside, some of them are coming inside now.
Sure.
If you go out for a run, you got to kind of bundle up a little bit more. And, I like this weather right now. I like, especially for running, because your performance skyrockets.
Sure.
As opposed to running in like 80 degrees
Yep.
or something. It gets much colder than this, and now you're starting to have to add layers and everything.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think running in this, where it's just crisp enough where you can go outside with shorts,
Right.
a hoodie, and then take something off and go. Because when it's 100 degrees in DC and 100% humidity, there's nothing else you can really take off after that. You're just running in a pair of shorts. So I think it's nice to have this kind of weather, and your muscles perform better. Like there is some research about performing in cold versus hot. So yeah, maybe that's why the New England Patriots have won so many Super Bowls compared to the Miami Dolphins.
That's right. To say nothing of Lambeau Field.
That's right.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off with a couple of items from the news that caught my eye, and Graham, I want to get your thoughts on these. This first one is a piece from the Wall Street Journal about intermittent fasting, and I know people talk about intermittent fasting all the time. It's been such a hot thing for a while now, but the title of this is Intermittent Fasting Works for Weight Loss, but Not Much Else. And, the thing that seems to be true with intermittent fasting is, for as much buzz as it's gotten, we don't really know that much about it.
Sure, not a lot of research besides like anecdotal evidence. Someone says, "Oh, I started doing this, and I was clear in my thoughts, or I was, or something else happened in my body," but not a lot of like data with your body,
right?
Necessarily,
because they talk about, and with this, the thrust of this article, by the way, and you can sum it up pretty quickly. It's that it is effective, not hugely, but it is effective on the margins for weight loss.
Sure.
But everything else about intermittent fasting seems to be kind of unproven. In terms of mental clarity and longevity and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think as we were looking at this article, like the one thing I look at is it's all these things, as I mentioned, like it's like a lever, right? I think a lot of people think about the fitness is, if I pull this lever, these things will happen. And a lot of this part is like, I pull this lever and 10 more other things will happen. So if you're the kind of person who's going to start intermittent fasting, maybe you're paying more attention to your diet, maybe more attention to your sleep. You're actually more focused on your health in general. Then you throw this thing in there and you go, wow, this must be the missing piece. Well, really, it's all those other things that are happening along with your fitness. It's not just intermittent fasting. And I can speak from experience. I did intermittent fasting just because on Friday mornings, I was training at 6, a 7, 8 o'clock client, a 9 o'clock client. 10 o'clock, I had a break where I would work out. 11 o'clock client, 12 o'clock client. And at that point, I was like, well, let's just try intermittent fasting. I don't want to just stuff something down, just eat it. So I started intermittent fasting at that point every Friday. Now, I can't say if I was clear or not, but definitely it felt different for sure. And there was some thought about the caveman and how the caveman would, have to find food and would think clear and all those things, which I think, might be an initial part of that intermittent fasting. But as the article alluded to, the big benefit is just weight loss.
Right. And, it's funny, and we talked about, before we started recording, we talked about this line, and I highlighted it too. This article ends by talking about people that advocate eating breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. So they're saying that your biggest meal, some people are saying that your biggest meal should be breakfast. And we're both like, no.
Yeah.
because it just seems like if you had when you have a huge breakfast, you're just lethargic right out of the gate.
Well, especially, I guess it depends on what you define as breakfast. Is breakfast like you get up and you eat breakfast? Maybe not the best. If you get up, go for a run, go for a workout, grab a shower, and then get dressed, and then have breakfast? Maybe. So all this is like, all these things are, it depends, right? And same thing, like, as we both talked, that, you shouldn't have a big meal at dinner. Well, it depends if dinner is at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., or is it dinner like at 9 o'clock? Right. Well, in that case, don't have a big dinner at 9, then go to bed. But a big dinner at 6 p.m. and then going to bed at 10 is not a terrible thing.
Right. And the last thing I'll say about intermittent fasting is that it kind of means different things to different people.
Sure.
Like intermittent fasting can be just skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
And, I generally do that during the week.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much in the weekends, but during the week I don't eat breakfast. But I also don't, during the week, I don't work out early in the morning. But if you do work out heavy early in the morning and you need to do a protein hit right afterwards,
sure,
then it's not practical to do intermittent fasting.
No, your body needs that recovery from protein and carbohydrates. Actually, it's like the most important window is at 45 minutes after your workout. So to basically deprive your body of nutrients is not the best thing. So all these things, in fact, I'll give you an example. So I just did a Healthy Habits Challenge for a business, HVAC company. There were 3 groups I worked with. Group number 1 was the guys working in the field. They're the ones out there. They're digging ditches. They're lifting up HVAC machines. All those things. They're doing some heavy work. Those guys, they need a big breakfast. Now the ones that are in the office doing the admin work, they don't need a big breakfast. They're going to go into the office and sit down for 8 hours. They don't need a big breakfast, right? And then there were the sales team who were driving back and forth. Same thing. If they have a big breakfast and they're sluggish in a car for an hour-long drive, that's not going to be helpful for them. So it all depends on what your activity is. And that's what I think that all of this goes down to. Like, what are you doing? Intermittent fasting, right? So,
and if it fits your lifestyle, great.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Now, the other thing, and then we'll move on to other stuff, but from the news, this was LA Times a couple of days ago, and you're familiar with this. This was kind of new to me, and it says, is this slow strength training method the fountain of youth? LA's 90-year-olds say yes, and it's a long piece about this trend, I guess, and
sure,
they have these facilities and these gyms there, I guess in LA, but around the country, that are really into this now.
Sure.
So can you explain, first of all, what this is that they're talking about?
Well, Super Slow has been around forever. Like one of the first certifications I went under, or took as a personal trainer, did a lot of Super Slow training. Right, they were big on this. It was a thing that they put a lot of football players through because those guys were working at such high demands. They wanted to have shorter workouts that would still get their muscles going. Right, they couldn't put a football player through a 2-hour workout when they have practice. Right, so that was one way to look at those things. It's great for time under tension. One thing we talk about in training is there's a how long are your muscles under tension? Right, time under tension. So Super Slow is great for that part. It's going to allow people to work the muscles for a long period of time, get to exhaustion, be in and out of the gym in 20 minutes. I think for those things it's great especially for someone who's got a busy life or someone who's older who doesn't maybe want to go into a functional fitness gym or
like this guy.
Yeah, not old like us. Not old like us. Less spry than we are, for sure. But there is a part of this I think it's great. I think it's a good way to look at. Go to the gym, do 20 minutes, Super Slow. However, again, the leverage we were talking about before is, this is where an old person who has to carry their groceries or wants to play golf or wants to play some pickleball or tennis or doesn't want to fall down. Functional fitness is super helpful for those things. It's the same way that cardiorespiratory, going for long walks or going for a hike is also part of it. It's like all these are parts of staying fit. It's not just this one trick pony, only do this one thing and that's all you have to do.
This is good, but if you do this to the exclusion of other things,
sure,
like explosive strength training.
Yeah, yep.
And so talk about, if you would, the benefit. First of all, what is explosive training and what are the benefits that provides?
Yeah. Well, so that's plyometrics. So plyometrics means different things for different people, right? So think about LeBron James, who is he was 20 years old. We talked about before. 20, he dunked. He led the league in dunks. Now that he's 40 years old, fewer dunks. Still explosive. But the idea is that as we age, we lose elasticity in our muscles. Not as explosive and not as fast, right? So we want to make sure we train that way. So so we don't get injured, right? You don't want to go to a sport or play like your company's softball and then try to run and pull an Achilles. So if you train super slow and your muscles can't be explosive, you're going to get injured if you do something fast.
Right.
So that's one way. And life isn't super slow. Life is, I got to catch that bus. I can't be super slow training, I'm going to go really slow. I need to be explosive on those parts.
Right.
Right?
And you can do the same exercise both ways. Like you could do a bench press,
Sure,
super slow,
Yep.
or you could do it to get
Fast.
explosive.
Like a med ball throw is a great example. Like we do that in the gym, where we'll combo a bench press into a med ball throw to work the muscle slow and controlled and then fast, right? So a part of that is called, it's the, I don't know if the word mess up. It's a French contrast training. So French contrast training is going this slow controlled into a fast, slow controlled into a fast. So that's French contrast training. It's only in like these, when trainers are talking about that stuff, we've gone down into the rabbit hole, right? So yeah,
French contrast training.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Be interesting to look at where that came from.
That's right. That's right.
But okay. So that's the idea of combining this with something that's more explosive.
Yeah, and just to go back up, part of these things are, this is what happens sort of in fitness, is you have these elements that people want to have, one answer. This is my answer for everything, and so fitness is one of those things where it's all the things, right? And also it goes into, what do you like? If you don't like doing super slow training, don't do it. If you don't like intermittent fasting, don't do it. If it works for you either psychologically or physically, then do it. And I think that's where data is really big, is do an in-body scan, do a DEXA scan, measure your body fat, measure your resting heart rate. All these data points are important. Measure how big your waist is getting or smaller. All those things are important to see, like, what trajectory am I going? Is this helping the way I want to go? And what is your end goal? Right. If your end goal is to lose weight, maybe intermittent fasting helps you. If your goal is you want to put on 10 more pounds of muscle, maybe not, right? So that goes down to, there's these parts that kind of come out and we think, if it's LA, it's got to be cool and everyone's doing it. But, but what's your own goal?
Yeah.
You can't have your goals just, if you look at, I tell you, I've been doing this for 25 years. If you rely on what is hip and cool to be fit, you're going to be going in different directions every 6 months.
Because there'll be an article a year from now about how everyone wants to do explosive training. I mean, it's a million miles an hour in one direction or the other, when in truth you got to do it all. Yeah. And one of the selling points in this piece is kind of something you alluded to you were talking about training NFL players, that people think that because this is a shorter regimen, this is like 20 minutes or something like that, then they do their 20 minutes and they're done.
Yeah.
But they're only getting part of a workout.
Yes.
With this.
Yeah, they're only getting that strength part, but what about cardiorespiratory? Right. What about flexibility? What about mobility? What about, I don't want to fall now? Yeah. So if you don't learn how to fall, you can't say, I don't know how to fall, but I'll fall down and maybe the muscle will save me.
But this is, okay, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but this is where you mentioned cardio. Like right now, cardio is very out of style.
Sure.
Like everybody's into strength training.
You see Orange Theory is moving into strength training. Right. F45 moving more into strength training. It's just the shift that's going. And that's great. I mean, I think for too long, people, especially probably women, were not doing enough strength training. Yeah, they're afraid of getting bulky, which doesn't happen.
Right.
Newsflash.
It's hard for anyone to get bulky.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think at some point we're going to say, okay, we've moved too far to the exclusion of cardiovascular, because cardio training is still important.
Absolutely, you need to have a cardio base to do strength training.
And I don't say this just as a runner, but yeah, I mean, cardio training, it's you got to do a little bit of everything. Sure, there's no shortcut like that.
Oh, and you see it now also with like High Rocks is a big thing coming
right.
out.
Well, that's we could do a whole.
We probably will. We're doing High Rocks training here, starting this Saturday. We're doing a 6-week program. The DC races is the end of March, so we'll definitely talk more about that. And I think a hot thing is going to be High Rocks versus CrossFit. And
can you just give just a 20-second pitch on what High Rocks is?
High Rocks is It's a functional fitness race. So High Rocks, in its essence, is a race. It's the same format every single time. A 1K race, a 1K run, a 1K row, a 1K run. So basically a 1K run every time you do something. And then there's a row, a ski, burpee broad jump, sled push, sled pull, wall balls, lunges, and carries. I might have missed something, but that's the essence of it. So you run, do something functional. Run, something functional. And the best part about it, you're over in an hour to 90 minutes.
It's contest.
It's contest. Yeah. And you can compete individual, couples, teams, all these things. And the best part about it, it's low skill set in terms of like, obviously a wall ball is a skill, but like it's not like Olympic lifting or handstands or muscle ups. Those things are elements where, if you were to train, start doing CrossFit, and you're like, I want to win a local competition. Well, how are your double unders? How's your handstand push up? How's your snatch, your clean and jerk, your muscle up, all those things? That's a lot of skill to learn, where High Rocks, you pop right into it. More than 20 seconds, I know, but
no. And the other thing is, for people that aren't familiar with it, it's global.
It's global. It started in Germany, and then it's just taken off. It's gone from, I think London went from 1,000 people 2 years ago to 10,000. It's growing. And the great thing about it, compared to like Spartan and like those type of races, it happens in city centers. So you metro in, you warm up, you do the workout. It's 90 minutes.
It'll be at like a convention center.
Like here. Actually, it's going to be here.
Yeah.
And then you metro home and you're done. And because it's enclosed, all your friends and family can see you do it. A Spartan race, you drive out to who knows where.
Right.
You leave, your friends are like, where did you go for 2 hours? And you come back muddy.
It's like watching a cross-country meet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
so this is like, it's in it, boom. So like, cool thing is, if your heat's at 8:50, you're having brunch at 11:30, right? You're eating like a king.
That's right.
At 11:30.
I like it. All right, so that covers the news, I think. And you wanted to get into specific exercises to remain spry, basically.
Yeah, so I just want to know, like, what do you do? And you, like, what keeps you limber and loose? Because we talk about, like, there's running, which is great, and there's the weightlifting, but, like, in terms of, like, mobility, when I'm in Sarasota and I go down to Siesta Key and I go on my morning run, I see these old people, and it's like the old people are lack two things: mobility and muscle. And so strength training, yes, the super slow, whatever you're doing to get your strength, but mobility. We just see that as we age, we just start doing one of these things, and we're all hunched over, and we're like, no, I'm fine, I'm okay. But what are you doing to open things up? What are your go-to?
Well, and I think we talked about this during the last episode, where I've always been a runner, and I discovered several years ago that I had lost the ability to sprint.
Sure.
Because I was always going out and running, and I run at a decent pace, but I really couldn't do explosive sprints.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. So I try to incorporate some sprints every week into some kind of speed work, something like that. And it's one of those. It's like anything else. If you don't do it, you lose it.
Yep.
And it's an extra minute to my workout when I do it. It's not a big deal. That and like my Achilles heel, almost literally, is flexibility. Okay. Like I have to constantly work on flexibility, and I'm still not that flexible. Sure. But I try to work stretching in every.
No, where do you put it in? Do you put it in the beginning?
I do stretching in probably you're going to hate this because I do it in probably the worst way possible. I do stretching as soon as I wake up in the morning.
Okay.
And which is completely opposite of what you should probably do. but it's better that than not at all, and it's just kind of how it fits into my schedule. But I recognize that you're probably better off, especially static stretches and things like that, to do that afterwards.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, your muscles are more primed and loose to do those things. So,
but I think it helps wake you up, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the stretching that we typically recommend for a before workout, when you wake up, is sort of getting into a range of motion and getting out of it. So this sort of like an active stretch. So there's active stretch, there's static stretching, there's like dynamic stretching, things like that. So there's proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, PNF.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. PNF stretching. So that's a little bit of like get to a stretch, push a little bit more, and then have like someone push against it. It's like banded stretches. All those things are good, but ideally just range of motion stretches are going to be good. So like for running, any sort of like heel walks, toe walks, where you walk on your toes, walk on your heels, slow high knees, slow butt kicks, skips where you don't come off the ground and get things moving, arm swings. The one thing I always say about with running is Usain Bolt has the fastest legs in the world, but he also has the fastest arms. Like his arms are moving that same sort of pace as his legs. His arms aren't moving like this while his legs are moving fast. So like getting the arms going, 'cause that's really going to help you as you throw your arms forward. So think about the run, but do it slower.
Yeah.
Right. That's one way I would say, like to change your stretching. There's a great company. We'll talk about this. We can probably do research. Our next podcast. A company called Phase 6. And Phase 6, it's stuff I've been doing for the longest time, but they really came together and made awesome routines and incorporate kettlebells and movements. Basically, it's like yoga through space. Right. So they're doing inchworms through space. They're doing sort of these knee pulls and long stretches through space. Of course, it looks really cool. Like the people that are doing it, they have the look. Like they've got like they're just the guy's got he's got the total hipster beard. The girl's super fit. They look the part and they move well. They're super smart people and totally accessible to everybody. So Phase 6. No sponsorship, although you can do it. But they do some really cool stuff. And I've been following them for years. And I actually sent a client, and she went and bought the program and did the 6-week program that they have, and because she never stretched. So there's really cool stuff out there to move better. Again, movement and muscle are the most important things.
Yeah, especially for women seem to, on the whole, better with flexibility than men. I mean, men are awful with flexibility generally.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. Like, I will say, in this gym, we attract a certain level of athlete that knows what they're doing for the open gym part.
Yeah.
And I just see so many people come in here who they lift heavy, but they spend a good 15, 20 minutes getting things prepped and ready. Even myself, like when I go to work out, I don't touch a barbell for 20 minutes. I'm 3 minutes from cardiovascular, getting things going. I do a bunch of mobility type things, a bunch of prep stuff, and then I will start lifting. So at 51, I need that 20 minutes. When I was 21,
you could hop right
I'm lifting without shoes on, or shoelaces tied, things like that. So,
All right. Fantastic. Well, it's a lot of ground we covered.
Yeah. Episode 2 in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we'll hit on some of these other things in future episodes. High Rocks, I think, is going to be fascinating to get into that, and then just more exercises on how you stay spry, because that's the name of the game.
That's it for sure.
Well, thanks for letting us use your gym today.
Yeah, as we said, the lead sponsor for Spry Life Podcast. Yep.
And even though it's getting cold, make sure you get out there and go do something, because you got to maintain it through the winter, just like through the summer.
Yeah, it's funny. The body has to get used to it now. It's so hard to adapt to running in January.
Yeah.
Get out right now, or it's a little cold. It gets colder, but at least your body gets used to it.
Got to put a toe in the water.
That's it.
Yep. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time on Spry Life.